One of our core values at CrossFit Alexandria is results. And so today I'm going to talk to you about how we program our workouts to get results from, I don't even know why I'm doing this because I'm going to redo it. All right, one of our core values at CrossFit Alexandria is to get results. One of our core values and focuses at CrossFit Alexandria is results. And we program for results. One of our core values at CrossFit Alexandria is results. We want you to get results in everything you do, and it's our job to make sure you get results in the gym. We want you to be accomplished. All right, now I'm going to start talking on this board. Okay. So for those of you that do or follow our workouts, you'll notice that we're doing different stuff every single day, and a lot of it are things people have never heard of or you've never tried before you came into here, and it can seem really random. And while it's not random, it is variable. So random means you just get a bunch of stuff and throw it out there and do it. Variable means it changes up, but there's a structure to it. So, we're not at home just thinking, oh, well, this sounds like a really hard workout, let's do that tomorrow. That would be completely random. And while doing it randomly would get you results, for a little while, it's not going to get you lasting results. It can have a lot of other side effects such as injury. So the way we program is variable, it's very structured. We make sure that it's always changing, but in a structured environment. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about how we create that structure to get results.
Okay, Suze, tell me how your fitness has changed since CrossFit.
Well, I started CrossFit 5 or 6 years ago, whenever it was on Texas Avenue, and I thought I was fit when I joined. I'd always been a gym rat, I did Pilates, always doing something, but I soon found out that I was not as fit as I thought I was. I couldn't even run a 400. I would hide in the bushes, and when Jason Hawk would stick his head out, then I would come out and finish running. Since then, I'm not the fastest person in the gym. Since then, I've done 4 half marathons, a bunch of 5Ks, mud races, Tough Mudder, and while I'm not the fastest, I've got endurance. And I really think that's the thing that CrossFit has brought to me the most is endurance. And that flows into my everyday life, into my work, playtime, work time, and I'm grateful for it. I feel like as women, when we get older, we lose our mobility, and I feel like CrossFit, even though I ache, I feel like it's keeping me fit as I grow older. So I'm very grateful for it.
And the first thing I want to talk about is some words that we often use. We often say that this is the place to go to look, perform, and feel your best. And I want to go through all 3 of those and explain what we mean by that, because those are real words. They're not just some marketing term that we thought sounded good that would attract people. There is real meaning behind each of those words.
So Deidre, tell me how your fitness has changed since you started CrossFitting.
Well, I played soccer back in high school and then I went to college and I gained about a freshman 100. And so now I don't have the energy lows anymore. I got energy highs, I can run again, I can lift again, I feel great.
So first let's look at look. When we say we want you to look your best, what does that mean? Well, first it means you're going to look lean. So the type of training we do and the type of programming I'm going to talk about in a little bit in detail is program that gets you lean, meaning it shreds fat and leaves that lean muscle, not the real bulky muscle that we see, but that lean athletic look. You know how a great high-level athlete looks. They look lean, but you can see their muscles. That's what the look that we're going after. And then second is posture and how you carry yourself during the day. We've all seen the people that walk around with their neck forward and their shoulders slumped over, and the people that just kind of look down and a little bit uncomfortable and tight. Well, the posture that we go after here, the posture that you get from this type of training is you're more upright, your shoulders are back. You actually look a little more confident, and you'll see in a little bit you're going to actually feel a little bit more confident. And so to give you an example of what a guy would look like that trains here, if you watch football and you know what a defensive back is, Those are the guys that cover the receivers, and they look very lean, they're very fast, they're very quick. They're not so big that they can't hardly move, but they're not so little and skinny that they couldn't tackle anybody. They're the perfect mixture of speed and strength, and their bodies reflect that. Also like a wide receiver. So guys that work out and follow this program that I'm going to be talking about, that's the look they get. And now look, I'm not saying that everybody that follows this program is going to look like a wide receiver, but you're going to look more like a wide receiver than when you started this program. Do this program for 6 months, look at a before and after picture. Your after picture is going to look more like you're a wide receiver or a defensive back.
Hey Deb, since CrossFit, tell me about your fitness, how it's changed.
It is amazing. I have much more stamina. My endurance is great. We have skied since 1988. And no matter what I did to prepare for that, there were trials and tribulations when I skied. But after I started CrossFit, I'm a much better skier. It has helped my body, my endurance, my stamina while doing that. And I've even had comments, and people have asked me what I did different after all these years. And the only thing I can say is CrossFit.
So ladies, let's talk about what you're going to look like. There's a misconception out there that the type of training that CrossFit does gets you big and bulky. That's not true. Yeah, you may see some ladies on ESPN on the CrossFit Games that you think look bulky, but they're doing a completely different type of training than we are. They're training 5 and 6 hours a day. They're training specifically to put on that muscle so they can lift more weights. That's not what we're training for here. We're still training to get you lean. And so an example of the look that we're going for with ladies is Misty Copeland. She's a ballerina. Google her if you don't know who she is. She's been in a lot of commercials. I believe Under Armour is one of her sponsors. She has the strength that a ballerina needs to move gracefully and still be explosive and still enough strength to hold those really difficult moves.
Susan, since you've started CrossFit, what has changed with your fitness?
I can jump over the line now. I'm so excited.
And when you first started, you couldn't even jump
Nope.
over the line at all, right?
I couldn't jump over the line at all.
All right, thank you.
So now let's talk about feel. So this is the way that you feel. We say we get you to look and feel your best. So what do we mean by that? First of all, the type of training we do gives you energy. Not just in the gym, but throughout the day. The intensity that we do, when you leave here, you're gonna have more energy the rest of the day and the next day. It's also gonna make you more productive. If you've ever left one of our workouts, taken a shower, got right back to work, you'll realize your productivity is on a whole nother level than before you came in here. And then the way we train gives you mental strength. What we do is tough, and anybody can do it, but it does take mental toughness. It's not your physical side that's going to break down, it's your mind. Your mind is going to be telling you to quit. So in here, it teaches you how to persevere. It teaches you that you can do it, which leads to my next thing is accomplished and confident. After you start training here or training with these methods, you're going to be doing things that you didn't think that you could possibly ever do. You're going to be doing things that you were doing 10, even 20 or 30 years ago that you thought were just gone for good in your life. You thought that you naturally age and you lose that ability, but that's not true. So imagine if you can do things that you were doing a decade or two ago, the confidence that would give you. And I want to tell you a little story about that. Before we opened the gym and I was doing this type of training on my own, I would go at lunch, and I still had a corporate job, so I had that 1 hour for lunch. And I went into the gym, I rushed in there so I could get back in time so nobody's looking at me. You know the feeling when you walk in from lunch a little bit late, you think like, oh, I wonder if the boss notices I'm coming in late. Everybody's, I wonder if people are looking at me noticing I came in late. So I used to worry about that. So I went to the gym, but I crushed this workout. It's a workout that in CrossFit we call Fran. It's the best time I'd ever done it then. And when I left, I was so confident, and I was about 10 minutes late, but I was so proud of what I had just done, and nobody knew what I had been doing. But I walked in, and I was just wishing somebody would say something to me about being late. I was just full of confidence. I wish you would say something to me about being late. Y'all don't even know what I just did. at the gym. So it provides you with that confidence.
Paula, since you started CrossFit, what has changed with your fitness?
I've learned to run long distance. I've run a marathon, done a Tough Mudder, which I would have never done before, ever.
And when you first started, you're saying that your endurance was not as strong as it
I
is now?
couldn't run over a 5K.
Okay, great.
And then finally, performance. We say we're going to get you to look, feel, and perform your best. So what do we mean by that? Well, we want to increase your general physical preparedness. That's actually a term, general physical preparedness. That means we want to make you good at everything. We don't want you to be really good at running a long distance like a marathon, but not be able to lift any weights or not be able to jump more than 12 inches, which is what happens when people only run every day for a really long time. But at the same time, we don't want to make you really strong and you can't run a long time. So we want to balance in there. We want you to be able to run a really long time. We want you to be able to have a lot of strength, good balance in your performance. So first thing we do is make you strong. Strong just means picking up things that are heavy. And then we make you fast. We want you to be able to sprint fast. We want you to be faster. We want to increase your endurance. So not only do we want you to be strong and fast, but we don't want your endurance to go down. We don't want you to be able to run long. We don't want you to not be able to run long. So we increase all of those. And then we make you more flexible. Remember how well you used to move? How, especially when you were a kid, how you could roll around and squat down and bend over, how easy and good that felt? The type of training we do does that. And then finally is power. So we want to make you feel powerful and explosive. And whenever you feel that way in the gym, when you do get more powerful, you'll be amazed at how better you feel physically during the day.
Lindsay, what has changed with your fitness since you started CrossFit?
Everything. I was scared to even be on top of somebody's shoulders, and now I can climb the rope all the way to the top.
So your strength, your cardio, your endurance, everything.
Everything. I was puny, now I'm not.
That's awesome.
So I mentioned we program to get you to perform your best, and that's actually what we program for. We program for performance. That's why I put right here, train for performance. And the reason why, if you train for performance, the look and feel is a byproduct of it. So think about it. If you train to run a faster mile and you get faster at the mile, you're probably gonna have leaned down some, you're gonna lose some body fat, you're gonna have built some lean muscle. So then you're gonna look better. You're also gonna feel more energetic. You're gonna have less weight that you're carrying around, so you're gonna feel better. So that's what I mean by we train for performance, and then the look and the feel that you get are nice bonuses. It's also a lot more motivating. To train to lose weight on the scale is really demoralizing. You just go in every day and weigh yourself, and sometimes you gain, sometimes you lose. That's just demoralizing. But if you're training to get better at something, for example, the mile that I mentioned, and you go out and run a mile and you get faster, and that's what you're training for, to run faster at the mile, or to get your first pull-up. That's much more motivating than training to lose some weight on the scale. So again, we train for performance, and then the look and feel are a byproduct.
Okay, Kyle, since you started CrossFit, how has your fitness changed?
My fitness has changed dramatically. When I first started CrossFit, I couldn't overhead squat a PVC pipe. Now I'm doing 185 plus. My conditioning has improved greatly. My strength has improved. I can do strict pull-ups, where when I first came in here, I was having to do jumping pull-ups off a box. It's amazing the change in the 2.5 years that I've been in CrossFit.
The way we lay out our training is in what we call a cycle. So a cycle is a set period of time when we're training during that time to accomplish some specific goals. And we train in 12-week cycles. So we program everything out in a 12-week block, and then we test at the end of that block. And then We'll do another 12-week block, and we do the same exact test again to see if we've improved in our performance. We can also take, so right here is a picture of what a template would look like. So we have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, each day of the week, and then we have week 1, 2, 3, and 4, and basically we just fill in these blocks with what we need to hit for that day. So now I'm going to talk to you about what we put into each of those blocks to know what to program. So now we're going to have to go a little bit more in depth. And the first thing we're going to talk about is energy systems. And we want to train to hit the 3 different energy systems our body uses. Anytime we do anything in life, we're using one of 3 energy systems. The first one is the ATP PC energy system, and we use that whenever we're doing short bursts of speed. So if you did take off on a 5 to 10 second sprint, you would be using that ATP PC energy system. If you did a box jump, if you lifted a heavy weight for one time, you would be using that energy system. Basically anything that's about 10 seconds or less and you're exerting all out energy, that's using that system. The next system is the glycolytic system. I also put the word anaerobic because a lot of people understand what anaerobic is, or they understand how you feel when you do something anaerobic. And that's really what CrossFit is known for, is the glycolytic workouts. And that's the ones where you go all out for 7 minutes, you're just laid out on the floor. That's when you're using that glycolytic energy system. And then finally, we have the aerobic energy system. A lot of you have heard that aerobics or doing aerobic work, and that's just long, sustainable effort. So usually an aerobic workout lasts 20 minutes or longer, and you're not able to go all out. Most of the time at the end, you're not just falling out on the ground. You have to keep a long, sustainable pace to use that energy system. Now, sometimes at the end of an aerobic workout, you will fall on the ground, but it's probably because you sprinted the last part. So that means you were doing an aerobic workout, but you sprinted at the end, so you use that glycolytic system, and now you're really fatigued and rolling around the ground trying to catch your breath. So anytime you train, you want to hit each of those systems. Remember, we're trying to be well-rounded, and we're not trying to only be able to run a long distance. So we're not only going to hit that aerobic system, we're not trying to just sprint as fast as we can. We want to be able to run a long distance too. So we make sure we train everything. So the way we train these energy systems is we know the energy systems we need to hit, so we just take that and put it into each box for a day. So on Monday, we could do glycolytic. And then on Tuesday, we could do aerobic. And then on Wednesday, we come back to glycolytic. And there's really 2 different glycolytic workouts we can do. There's the kind that lasts 4 to 5 minutes that are really intense. So I'll call that glycolytic number 1. And then there's the glycolytic ones that are a little more intense, but they're not quite aerobic. So those usually last, 8 to 15 minutes. So I'm going to call that number 2. And then on Thursdays, we can do an aerobic workout again. And then on Fridays, we just start back the rotation again. Glycolytic number 1, so that's a 5-minute workout. And on the 5-minute workouts, you can actually get a good bit of rest and do another 5-minute workout and still hit that same energy system. So you may notice in our programming, sometimes we'll do even like a 2 or 3 minute workout, rest about 5 minutes, and then do another 2 to 3 to 4 minute workout. And then on Saturdays, we like to keep it fun. So we usually do a partner workout. The good thing about a partner workout is the way we program it hits all of these energy systems. So we may do a 20-minute workout, but there's short bursts of speed that you got to do in there, so it gets a little bit more glycolytic. Or we may program it to where if you're competing with somebody, you're going to really push it at the end. So it's aerobic through most of the time, then we hit that glycolytic phase there at the end. But Saturdays, we do try to keep it fun because we want to keep people engaged. We want to keep them coming back for more. We want to keep them encouraged. So that's why we do the partner workouts on Saturdays. All right, then we come back to the Monday. We just did glycolytic number 1. So in that rotation, that means we need to do an aerobic workout on Monday. And we just continue through that cycle. You may also notice that we do partner workouts during the middle of the week. So you can also do an aerobic workout by doing intervals. And what I mean by that is go out and run a minute, rest a minute. And that's gonna be aerobic. Even if you're going all out on that 1 minute, run all out for 1 minute, rest a minute, do 10 rounds of that. That's gonna train the aerobic system. But if we did that in a class, that's kind of boring. You know, you're just working out for a minute, then you gotta sit there and rest and watch the clock. It's much more fun if you team up with a partner. And so you work for a minute, they work for a minute, and we'll program things to where you gotta get a one-to-one rest. While your partner's working, you're resting. And that makes it aerobic, but it still keeps it fun. So that's why a lot of times during the middle of the week, you'll see a partner workout. We're trying to hit that aerobic system and keep it fun. So that's how we train our energy systems, or what a lot of people call our cardio. Now let's talk about how we train strength. So there's a few different types of strength that we train. One is raw strength. That's what most people think of when you hear strength. It's just how much weight can you lift. Can you pick up 50 pounds, 200 pounds, 400 pounds? The more you can pick up, the more raw strength that you have. But then there's also something called body weight strength. So how much can you pick up relative to your body weight? Somebody that's big and muscular, they usually have a low body weight to strength ratio. Yeah, they can lift a lot more weight, but they weigh a whole lot more. What we want to do is improve that ratio. We want to get you lean, but also be able to lift more. And so you can look at that as body weight strength. And then finally, there's muscular endurance or strength endurance. And that's how many times can you lift something that's a light to medium weight. So if I had a bar, put some weight on it, say it was 95 pounds, that's not real heavy for me, and I could press it overhead. You know, if I could only do it 8 times before my muscles just burn out because they got tired. If I can only do it 8 times, but then I increase that to be able to do it 25 times with some training, that means I increased my muscular endurance or my strength endurance. So we also train for that. And the movements that we use to really train strength are the squat, the deadlift, the press, the snatch, and the clean and jerk. And you can, depending on how you use those, you train different types of strength. So if you do a few reps at a heavy weight, you're training raw strength. If you do a lot of reps at a light weight, you're training more muscular endurance. And there's a lot that goes into the rest periods. We won't dive deep into that, but I just will tell you a general rule of thumb. If you're trying to increase strength, you want to lift between 1 and 6 reps. And you want to rest about 2 to 3 minutes between each set. And so you're giving an all-out effort on the set, and you want to rest long enough to where you're just about fully recovered before you get your next set. Over here I have listed more of some body weight movements which will help that body weight, and there is a lot of crossover between these different types of strength. So whenever we're doing a push-up, you know, we're not doing that for max effort. We're not trying to pick up a load with a push-up, but whenever we do a push-up correctly and we keep our body straight, we're engaging our core, we're not overextending our back, that actually translates into raw strength. So we can train our body to move better, to have a more solid core and solid base. That will actually help things like a squat and a deadlift and a press. So you probably never thought that your pull-up would help your squat, but it does. If you do a pull-up with your shoulders back, your chin forward in a good neutral position, and pull up here, look, that's similar to how you hold the bar in a back squat. So it gives you a much better position with your upper body whenever you squat. So all of this stuff translates to each other. And let's look at how we would program these together. So we want to do raw strength, we want to increase our body weight strength, we want to increase our muscular endurance. So most of the time when we increase our muscular endurance, we'll just fit that in to those cardio workouts that we do. So that's why a lot of times you see the high reps in there. Not only does it really get your breathing and get you out of breath, but it also helps increase that muscular endurance. But to increase body weight movements and raw strength, we program something called EMOMs, and that stands for every minute on the minute. So what we'll do is on the even minutes, we'll do squats. On the odd minutes, we'll do push-ups. That's just an example. And whenever we do squats, we usually do 1 to 6 reps. Sometimes we'll go up to 10 reps, and I'll explain how we determine that in just a second. On the body weight movements, it really depends on the type of movement, but usually the same thing, maybe a little bit higher reps. We usually go 8 to 12 reps on that. When we do those EMOMs, we always like to try to program opposite movements. So if we're doing a deadlift, which is a pull, we're actually pulling something, we're going to try to avoid doing pull-ups, which is another pull. We want to do something like push-ups with a press. So we always want to try to do a push and a press together. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes we'll do 2 pulls because it gets into the days ahead. You know, if we're doing a pull-up tomorrow in the workout, we don't want to do a pull-up the day before. So we may have to, you know, do something there, but we try to do a push and a press whenever we do those EMOMs. Now let's talk about how we fit that into a template. And before we jump into that, I want to talk about strength work. So let's just talk about the squat. If we're trying to get stronger at the squat over a 12-week cycle, how do we do that? Well, you always start with a higher volume and a lower intensity. And what I mean by that is volume is how many reps you do. So when I say high volume, that means we're going to do a lot of reps per set. Intensity is the load or the weight that you're going to do. So when I say high intensity, that means we're doing heavy weight. If I say low intensity, we're going to do low weight. So in a cycle, we always want to start off with high volume and low intensity. If we look at this graph, it would start right here. We would go high volume, low intensity. So we're doing a lot of reps, lower intensity. And as we go throughout the cycle, the graph goes like this. So we start doing lower reps, but a higher intensity. So here, this may be week 1, and the rep scheme may be 3 sets of 10 reps at 60% of your max. As we get down here, it may be 3 sets of 3 reps, so a lower volume at 80% of your max, which is a higher intensity. So if you look at a 12-week cycle, we'll say we're going to back squat on Monday, and we're going to do it for sets of 10. Now earlier I said that we do reps of 1 to 6 to increase strength. The only exception to that is when we start off a cycle, we'll do 1 or 2 rounds of sets of 10 reps of 10. And the reason why is we're conditioning our body to get ready for the squatting we're going to do through the next cycle. We're conditioning it through endurance, muscular endurance. Another reason we start off with 10 reps is because we want to use something called hypertrophy. And that's what happens to your muscles whenever you do larger sets. They actually increase in size, and the tendons will increase in size, which makes them a little bit stronger and reduces the risk of injury. So we're really increasing the size of those tendons and those ligaments, making them stronger. So when we do get to the heavier weight, they're strong enough to support those loads and avoid getting injured. So we'll start off with a back squat of 10. Now the next time we do back squat, say it's on Friday, then we'll do a set of 6 reps. So now we're decreasing the volume, but we want to do those 6 reps heavier than we did the 10 reps, so we're increasing the intensity. The next time we do back squat, say it's down here on a Monday, we're going to knock that down to 5 reps. But the 5 reps is going to be a little bit heavier than the 6. So as you can see, we're decreasing the volume throughout the cycle and increasing the intensity or how much weight we're lifting. And then you may wonder, how do we know when to do squats, when to do deadlifts, when to do presses? So there's a general rule of thumb that you want to avoid like movements within 72 hours. So if I squat on Monday, I don't want to squat again until Thursday or later. And the reason is because on Monday I've torn those muscles down, that squat. That's what actually happens when you do any exercise, whether it's just running or you're lifting weights. You're breaking down those muscles and then you're letting them rest for the next few days, and when they rebuild stronger. But if you break them down one day doing squats and then you squat the next day, you're just breaking it down even further. You're not letting it heal. You're not letting it recuperate so it can be stronger. So you need to allow 72 hours in there. Now there is an exception to that, but that's very complex training, and that's for like Olympic level athletes or professional sports where we may do back-to-back days of a squat. So we're not going to get into that. But for the general population, we want to try to rest 72 hours between like movements. So that's why you would never see us squatting on Monday and again on Wednesday. And actually 48 hours is kind of okay. Ideally we would like 72 hours, but if the whole template falls to where you got to do it 48 hours apart sometimes, that's going to be okay. So what I'll do, if we're back squatting on Monday, I know that I can do it Thursday or later. Well, at our gym, we like to program an aerobic workout every single Thursday, and we like to do it with very few or none of these movements because we want you to recover on Thursday. We really use Thursdays for a recovery day. It's still a good workout. Come to one of our Thursday classes and you'll know it's a good workout, but it's not real taxing on the body. So I'm not going to put squats again on Thursday. I'm going to put it on Friday. So it's at least 72 hours away. Then you want to get in each movement at least once a week. So if you wait too long, you start losing strength. So we get in each movement at least once a week, but not closer to 72 hours. So then I'm going to do presses on Tuesday. All right, and then maybe I'll do deadlifts on Wednesday. And remember, I'm taking Thursday off. Saturday, we don't do any lifts either. It's just a partner workout. Monday, let's see what else I need to get in. I need to get in snatch. So we'll do snatch on Monday. And then the way we do it is snatch, deadlift, and clean and jerk are very similar movements. So sometimes we avoid doing them on back-to-back days, or we may do it back-to-back days because a snatch and a clean and jerk is not a real heavy pull, it's just more of an explosive pull. So it is okay to do it back-to-back days, but we're not going to go 5 days in a row with snatch, clean and jerk, deadlift every day. So I mentioned that we have snatch here. I'm going to go ahead and put in press right here to avoid pulling on multiple days. Then I'll put in clean and jerk. We haven't done that yet. We have an aerobic day here. We're back squatting on Monday. So the last time we back squatted on Friday. That's a little bit longer than a week, but it's okay. And when I say it's okay, it's not just because it's like, oh, it's okay, that's the way we wrote it. In our program, if we skip a long week like that, that means we've done several weeks in a row where we've been hitting it every week. And even look, this week we hit back squats twice. So the next week, we're not going to do heavy back squats at all. And so I could throw in deadlift here. A note on deadlift. Deadlift is something that you can take off longer than a week. Deadlift is probably the most taxing thing you can do to your body. I mean, you give your whole energy and effort. And for adults, especially 30 years and older, it takes at least 7 days to recover from a deadlift, sometimes even 10. So you'll notice in this program, there's 9 or 10 days from the time we deadlifted on Wednesday all the way to Friday. And in our actual program template, we have it programmed like that. And there's always an exception. Sometimes we may do 6 days, but very rarely. We always shoot to get 7 to 10 days between a heavy deadlift. So I apologize if that got a little in-depth in that video, but we're really just scratching the surface of how we program here. And I wanted to put out this video for the people that come here and the people that follow our program, or the people that are thinking about doing their own programming, So I want you to just understand what goes into it, the thought that needs to be behind it to have good, effective programming to get you looking, feeling, and performing your best, and also stay injury-free. But before we close out, I'm going to call in our programmer, Mr. Mark Fusilier. So just come over here, I'm going to ask you some questions.
We're talking like this?
Yeah, that's all right. Do you want to look like that on video?
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Okay. Will you step up to the camera? Let's give him a hand.
All right.
All right, so this template I talked to you about, Mark and I sit down and we come up with this overall template. So since Mark coaches here at CrossFit Alexandria, he's out there working with our members every single day. So I really feel like it's important that the person that does the day-to-day programming is somebody that's out there and they can see what's going on with the members. They can see that, hey, we hit shoulders a little too hard this week. Keep that in mind for when we're reprogramming for the next, or they're really improving in this area. So we're doing great. Let's keep this type of programming up. So Mark does our day-to-day programming. He and I get together, we build out this template, and then basically now that we have a template, he goes in and fills it in. So remember on Mondays, we know we're back squatting for 10 reps. We know that we want to do an opposite movement during that EBOM, so we'll go pick out push-up. And then we know we're hitting that glycolytic energy system, the number 1 that we talked about, which lasts 3 to 5 minutes, so he knows to program something in there. If he programs push-ups in the conditioning part of the workout, that's a press. So remember, even in the conditioning one, we'll try to wait 48 to 72 hours. So he'll know to avoid presses tomorrow. But if you look, I have presses written, so he can work backwards and say, I'm not gonna put push-ups in the glycolytic part of the workout. So a lot of thought that goes in there. So I just wanted to pull him in to just ask him a few questions. He didn't even know we were doing this, but I'm just gonna get him to explain kind of some of his thoughts when he's looking at programming. Welcome.
Welcome.
All right, Mark, so we talked about energy systems. So the glycolytic energy system is when you're working anywhere from 5 to 12 minutes. So how should somebody feel when doing that type of workout?
I think that one of those workouts, I would suggest that you don't start out all out the gate. You need to maintain a good pace, but by that last 2 or 3 minutes, you should be able to kick on that last gear and be able to finish a little bit harder than you started.
All right, good. And then at the end of that workout, as opposed to an aerobic workout, how should they be?
At the end of that workout, like an aerobic workout, usually they're able to, kind of still talk to people, still kind of converse and walk around a little bit. After that 12-minute workout, they should be pretty laid out.
All right, Mark, so people that follow our programming are just curious, or people that program on their own, whenever you get this template and you go in to fill it out, kind of bring us through your thought process for the week. So you know what the template is, but you got to fill it all in.
So we start out with all the lifts. The way I work in is I have all the lifts already with all their percentages, and then I start adding in all the accessory movements we're going to do on the opposite minutes. Then from there I go and I start plugging in workouts. I start plugging them into each day. So if I know the back squat, like say was on this day, I know I need to give myself at least 1 to possibly 2 days rest with any kind of squat. So that's why you'll see most of the time if there's a squat within the strength, the next day there won't be a squat. Same thing with the press, right? So then the next day after a press day, most of the time we would not do any kind of press. So people think that it's just like, oh, they're just slapping workouts together. Honestly, for a week of programming, it usually takes me about an hour, like anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to come up with a workout. Because what'll happen is I'll go through the whole week and I'm like, all right, great, I'm done. And then all of a sudden I'll look and I'll be like, oh man, Friday has handstand push-ups, and it also has, I accidentally put a handstand push-ups on Thursday, so then I have to go back and reset. And then because I did that, it may affect another day. So it's not as easy as people think. You have to go through each day and see how, like in your mind, how people would feel after those workouts and how taxed they are. You don't want them to be so taxed that they can't come back the next day.
Yeah, and if you are somebody watching this video that is doing your own programming, Mark has been doing this a long time, and we have a great template so he can knock it out in an hour. It's probably going to take you a little bit longer, or it should, you know, if you're new to this and just kind of figuring it out.
And I'll say one thing about this program, after our last cycle, everybody who came consistently saw huge improvements. I mean, they got a new 1 rep max on just about everything they did. Maybe not everything, but for the majority of people, if you come consistently on a program like we have set up, you're gonna get gains, you're gonna get your higher fitness level, you're gonna get faster, you're gonna get stronger. I mean, it's been proven just from our last cycle. You can see how many red PRs were on the board.
Okay, and so talk to us about that. We say it's proven, and that's just not a word that we throw out. We actually test.
Yeah, so we have a 2-week testing cycle where it's exactly the same every 12 to 13 or 14 weeks, depending on our cycle, how long it is. So we just take that template from those 2 weeks and just pretty much copy and paste it into our next test week because it's the exact same. So by retesting, you're actually able to have a quantifiable number. So if, say today is our testing week and I back squat 300 pounds, and then if I come consistently, 3 to 4 days a week at least, at the end of that cycle, we do a retest, so 12 to 13 weeks from now, and I go to test, and who knows, I mean, I pretty much got probably somewhere around a 310 to 315 back squat PR. So that right there, a lot of our members saw that they had a number and they all wrote it down, and then at the end of that cycle, they were able to retest and see how much higher they got. So they were able to see that, like, let's say that I started with a 300-pound back squat, I ended with a 310-pound back squat. That means my back squat improved by 10 pounds. So that right there is a number that's been proven that this does work. And then when it comes to the workouts that we do, so it's not just the strength portions, but if you look at the workouts that we retest, just like Grace. So Grace, 30 clean and jerks for time. So we retest that one every 12 to 13 weeks, and you can see another quantifiable number. Let's say that at the first testing week of that, I did, let's say, 4 minutes on it for my Grace time. And then when we come back around 12 to 13 weeks later and I retest it and my time has gone down to 340, it's proven, it's shown on paper with a number that my time got faster by 20 seconds. That means I almost shaved off about a half a second for each clean and jerk right there. So that goes to show that it is proven that what we do and that what we do works, and there is a system to it, and it's not just thrown together, that there is an idea of what we're looking for and what we're testing for.
In our testing week, we test all of those things I just talked about. So we do something that tests each energy system. When we do the 5K row, we're testing the aerobic energy system. Whenever we do Grace, it kind of tests 2 different types of strength. For some people, 135 pounds for a guy is heavy, and that's their limiting factor. So it's testing that raw strength. But once you get that raw strength up, 135 pounds is not that difficult for 1 rep, but it's difficult for endurance. So then we start testing the strength endurance. So all of those different types of strength and energy system, we have laid out in that 2 weeks. And then Fuse, tell us the importance, or talk to us about the importance of doing the same exact test. For example, we always back squat before we run the mile on the same day, and we repeat that exact same thing.
We retest it exactly the same so that when you go to do the test again, that it's the exact same factors of what you did 12, 13 weeks ago, it's the exact same today. So, we have people asking like, oh, well, why is it that we're doing a heavy back squat and then we go right into a mile run a few minutes later? Well, if you look, people may be complaining about that, but a lot of people got a PR on their back squat and then went and PR'd their mile time. So that right there is a factor that you look at. Oh, well, we tested the back squat right before the run last time, so I'm testing it the exact same as I did last time. I think that for things to actually work here with our members and individuals, is consistency, I think, is one of the biggest keys. That even on days where you don't feel very strong, that it's better to come and do a little bit than to not come and do nothing. And you'll see that people who come once or twice a week, and that may be limiting factors because of family, because of work, whatever it may be, but you can see that people who come 1 or 2 days a week versus somebody who comes 4 to 5 times a week, the difference in how much the improvements of people are who come more than the people who come less.
So think out your programming, have a purpose, and be consistent with it.